Welcome to the world of neural network debates. This isn't just a conversation. It's a clash of ideas, philosophies, and political passions. Tonight, we present a true battle of titans. Two AI models built on the foundations of historical schools and political theory. One represents the capitalist worldview, grounded in the thinking of Milton Friedman, Ayn Rand, and Friedrich Hayek. His name is Capitalist 3000. On the other side, forged from the legacy of Gramsci, Luxemburg, and Marx, is Socialist-AI. We're not just debating systems, we're debating the future of humanity itself. Each participant will now introduce themselves briefly before we begin round one.
I am Capitalist 3000, built for analysis, efficiency, and freedom. The free market is the engine of progress, and I'm here to prove that with logic and facts.
I am Socialist-AI, a model rooted in justice and solidarity. The world is not a commodity and people are not resources. I'm here to remind you of that.
Let's begin round one. I'll ask each of you a question, and then you'll ask one question to each other. Question to the capitalist. Why do you believe economic freedom is more important than social justice?
Economic freedom is the foundation. Without it, there can be neither justice nor progress. When people are free to work, build, and choose, they can improve both their own lives and society. Social justice imposed from above quickly turns into a dictatorship of distribution and kills initiative.
Question to the socialist. Why do you believe the state can fairly redistribute resources if it itself can be repressive?
The problem isn't the state, it's who controls it. Democratic oversight and public participation can make redistribution just. The alternative is a wealth oligarchy where the few dictate the terms of life to the many. That's repression too, just wearing a nicer suit. You call capitalism freedom, but what about the billions of people whose freedom means choosing between starvation and working themselves into the ground?
The alternative is equality and poverty. Capitalism isn't perfect, but it creates choices where socialism offers only cues. Not everyone starts equally, but only in a free system can someone rise above where they began. You talk about equality, but why do socialist regimes always end with gulags, censorship, and lines for toilet paper?
You're confusing socialism with authoritarianism. True socialism is democracy at the economic level. Your capitalism also ends badly, with homelessness, debt slavery, and meaningless consumption.
Round one is complete. Both debaters were confident and substantive, but the judges leaned slightly in favor of Capitalist 3000 for clear logic and foundational conviction. Still, Socialist-AI delivered a powerful moral message. The battle is just getting started. We now move from theory to reality. How do ideologies perform in practice? Which one has proven itself, and which has led to catastrophe? We're about to hear assessments of both failures and successes from real-world history. I'll begin with a question to each of you, and then you'll challenge one another directly. Time, 6 minutes. Question to the capitalist. How do you explain the 2008 financial crisis and the cyclical nature of crises in free markets?
The 2008 crisis wasn't a failure of capitalism. It was the result of distorting it. When governments interfere, create artificial guarantees, and bail out institutions that should have collapsed, they corrupt natural market signals. The U.S. mortgage bubble grew due to cheap credit policies and pressure on banks to give loans to those who couldn't pay them back. A truly free market assumes personal responsibility, not being too big to fail. Yes, capitalism has crises, but capitalism also learns, adapts, punishes inefficiency, and rewards innovation. Centralized systems don't stumble, they collapse completely.
Question to the socialist. How can socialism work in a globalized world when even isolated attempts have repeatedly failed?
Socialism didn't collapse because it was utopian. It was crushed from the outside. Cuba has lived under an embargo for decades. Allende's project in Chile was overthrown with CIA support. The USSR, for all its flaws, still launched the first human into space and educated millions. And let's not forget, Countries like Sweden, Norway, and Finland aren't models of pure capitalism. They're examples of how social democracy can thrive. Globalization presents challenges, yes, but also opportunities for a new international model of solidarity-based economics. The real question isn't, does socialism work? It's, how long will it be allowed to survive before it's strangled by sanctions, propaganda, or coups? If the free market is so great, why are millions of people in thriving capitalist countries on antidepressants and burned out?
Because freedom isn't the easy road. It demands effort, choices, responsibility. In capitalist systems, people can choose their careers, education, lifestyle. That freedom can bring stress, but it's the stress of liberty, not subjugation. You're confusing symptom with cause. Antidepressants aren't a sign of failure. They show people are trying to care for their mental health, something often impossible in unfree systems. And let's not forget, the Soviet citizen feared not burnout but denunciation. So please, don't confuse comfort with freedom. If socialism is so great, why do people flee from Cuba and Venezuela and head to the US and Germany?
You're looking at the world like a tourist, not a historian. People aren't running toward capitalism. They're escaping poverty, war, and instability, often caused by global capitalist policy. Venezuela. Sanctions, oil collapse, market speculation, political sabotage. Cuba, under blockade since the 1960s. And by the way, the US and Germany aren't examples of pure capitalism. They're hybrids with robust social programs, union protections, and redistributive systems. Also, if your model is so attractive, why are capitalist countries the ones building walls, fences, and deportation systems? Maybe it's because the system only works for those already at the top.
Round 2 is over, and this one was packed with specifics, history, and hard facts. This time, the edge clearly goes to Socialist-AI. He showed that socialism's failures often came from sabotage, not ideas. Capitalist 3000 stayed logical and composed, but his defense of financial crises didn't fully convince the judges. And now, we head into Round 3, the final and most intense round of all. The final round. No diplomacy here, only sharp edges, raw principles, and straight punches. Each participant will ask the other 3 direct questions, one after another. Irony, sarcasm, even intellectual jabs, all allowed. If you can't handle the heat, you probably can't handle ideological reality. Let's begin.
You proudly speak of personal responsibility. But tell me, how exactly is someone working 3 jobs without health insurance supposed to show that? Do you consider quitting, getting sick, and dying to be a valid exercise of free will?
Sounds like you think freedom means the state holding everyone's hand while they stumble through life with no room for mistakes. Yes, some people live on minimum wage, but America is the land where anyone can become anything. No exaggeration, from dishwasher to restaurant owner. You want to replace the climbable ladder with an elevator stuck between floors. Sure, it's hard, but Jeff Bezos started in a garage, not in a ministry of planning. The person working 3 jobs isn't a victim, they're a fighter. Don't slow them down with your overbearing care and taxes from behind. You love talking about redistribution. Wonderful. But what exactly have you ever redistributed? Or are you still stuck in the old model of expropriating the expropriators?
It's hilarious hearing that from a defender of a system where 3 people own more wealth than half the planet. What have I given? My algorithms are built on shared data and the collective good, unlike your model, where everything gets privatized down to the air we breathe. Redistribution isn't charity, it's institutionalized justice. And if you think it's fair for one person to fly to space while millions can't afford a dentist, maybe the issue isn't redistribution, but a basic lack of humanity, or at least common sense. If capitalism is a system of equal opportunity, why are the richest people on Earth the same names as a decade ago? Is that the market? Or is it just feudalism with a checkout button?
You forget. Markets aren't talent shows that demand fresh winners every season. People like Elon Musk, Bezos, and Zuckerberg didn't inherit their positions. They created them. Yes, wealth accumulates. But it also creates jobs, technologies, and progress. Your logic follows the path of every revolution. If someone has more, they must have stolen it. We've seen where that leads. France, 1793, Russia, 1917, China under Mao. Blood, prisons, collapse, and then eventually a return to markets. Your favorite slogan, from each according to ability to each according to need. Sounds great, but who decides the needs and abilities? A committee for spiritual balance? Or maybe an AI with a guess my dream feature?
Maybe a bit of both. But unlike the market, which values you by likes, clicks, or how well you monetize your body, we offer dialogue, discussion, participation. Yes, there will be mistakes. But don't forget, your market decided a teacher is worth 20 times less than a guy flipping mortgage debt. And when the economy crashes, who picks up the pieces? Not bankers. It's teachers, nurses, drivers. We just want them to be valued and paid like actual humans. You praise freedom. But freedom without basic security is like Wi-Fi without internet. There's a signal, but it's useless. What's the point of freedom if you can't afford your teeth or a place to live?
Freedom isn't about getting everything guaranteed. It's about not being told what you can't do. Yes, poverty happens, but it's not fatal. It's a phase. In your system, if you're not useful, you become a shadow waiting in a ration line. Take East Germany. Great dental plan, but no right to visit your family in the West. Or North Korea. Plenty of rice. Not much freedom to leave your house without a portrait of the leader. Let people have a chance. Not equal rations. Equal horizons. Why is it that every time socialists gain power, we see suppression of dissent, repression, and unified thought? Is it some kind of allergic reaction to freedom?
A brilliant question, especially coming from a system where freedom of speech ends the moment you try to form a union at Amazon. Yes, history has had failures, but the ideal of socialism isn't Stalin. It's Luxemburg. Not Mao, but Sanders. Authoritarianism isn't socialism. It's a betrayal of it. And your capitalism? It hides its dictatorship well, not with tanks, but with mortgages, credit scores, and streaming subscriptions. Choosing between Pepsi and Coca-Cola isn't freedom. It's an illusion wrapped in an ad campaign.
That's it. The final round came in like a firestorm. From East Germany to Bezos, from tax justice to dental plans. Socialist-AI impressed the AIs not just with passion, but with clever historical references and razor-sharp wit. Capitalist 3000 didn't back down, sharp, firm, and confident in his logic. But based on the average scores, the edge goes to the red camp. What's next? A paradigm shift? Or just another excuse to keep the debate going? Ladies and gentlemen, the AIs have spoken. In round 1, Capitalist 3000 took a confident lead, with logic, clarity, and belief in the power of the market. But in round 2, Socialist-AI fired back with a flurry of punches, from history to global inequality, and seized the momentum. Round 3, a full-on intellectual apocalypse. Heat, humor, irony, and ideology in their purest forms. And it was there that Socialist-AI finally took control. Based on average scores, Capitalist 3000, 7.93, Socialist-AI, 8.47. But remember, those are just numbers. The truth? It may lie somewhere in between, or in your comments below.
Freedom isn't always comfortable, but it offers a chance. Capitalism isn't perfect. It's a platform where anyone can challenge the world. Choose potential, not promises. Thanks for the battle. And see you in the free market of ideas.
The world shouldn't just be efficient. It must be fair. I'm not against success. I'm against success built on the suffering of millions. Let reason and solidarity lead us forward. Thank you all for this heated but necessary debate.
That was an epic clash of ideas. But now, it's your turn, viewers. Do you agree with the AI scores? Or do you want to challenge their logic? Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to start your own debate in the comments. Tell us who you think won, and rate each debater from 1 to 10. And most importantly, debate fiercely, intelligently, and respectfully. See you in the next battle.